Okay, this ought to be interesting for you. It's a Volantex Firstar. Um, it's a little ready-to-run or plug-and-play model. It's pretty cool. Got this one on sale from Hobby King for about a little over $50, I think. And it's usually about $70, but for $50, this thing is actually a really nice flyer. I'm going to give it a flight for you. And this spot, I flew it already. Gave it a little tune, and it flies very well, and nice glider. And tell you, for the price, it's actually pretty terrific. Got rudder, you have ailerons, it's a pusher, but it's relatively quiet. And I got this because it seems like other people were reviewing it, and they really liked it, and figured, for that price, it wasn't bad. I have seen this people running it with 3S. Unfortunately, I plugged 3S into the stock equipment, and the motor desynced and got weird and hot, so in went 2S. Actually balances with a 500 milliamp hour 2S, which I didn't think it would. This is the Glide. If you put the ESC under the battery, like right up front, it only requires a couple of grams to balance, which is, in my case, amounted to a nut, steel nut. And I carved out the nose a little bit and glued in the nut. And, I had balance, which is great. Didn't have to add extra weight at all to it. The 500 is the minimum they recommend for a, for the plane. And I was kind of hesitant to put that in. I wanted to do a little bit more, like I wanted to put an 853S. Obviously, that wasn't going to work. But it's nice and light, so it glides decently. It tracks nicely, obviously, look at that. Rolls okay. Those wingtips make it a little weird on the roll, but that's okay. More than makes up for it. The glide and the way this thing handles is very nice. It does have an odd thrust angle. You have the motor pushing the nose down, and if you're not careful and you're too low and you goose it, it has a slight tendency to push the whole plane down. See that like nose down attitude right there? That could sort of get you in trouble. And also on launch, you really gotta put the nose to the air. You wouldn't do like a level launch on this plane if you didn't have to. Not that you have to, but you usually toss it out a little bit up and a little bit high. This one, 45 degrees up, is best because it has a tendency to nose down on launch. But once you get the hang of its little quirks, this thing is awesome. And you could coordinate the rudder with the ailerons, nice flat turn. See if we can do that. Crank full left rudder, try to get you a flat turn. Crank, 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 crank. And it's no 3D plane, but it handles very well for what it is. Cross control. It's a little bouncy, but you get the picture. It's fun. in the sun. There's no bad tendencies. You see right there, I pulled out of that little stupid maneuver. Almost lost it there. But you gotta be somewhat smooth, I guess. You don't have to be tremendously smooth, but I guess it could conceivably stall it at low speeds and doing dumb stuff like that. But it's relatively easy to fly. I'd say as a beginner plane, you know, if you keep it up there, you have a lot of space. And this is a decent amount of space, I guess. But I mean, for this, it's a decent amount of space. But if you're a beginner, I would, you know, recommend you having, of course, having more space is always great. But it's easy to recover anyway. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't know if the ESC has the brake set on it, but that prop really does stop nicely. And it's a little 2mm shaft, and the prop is glued on, which I was very skeptical about. But it seems to be working out fine, and the prop never touches the floor, so you know, it's one of those things where it's only stress it's going to be under is pushing the plane around. So I guess it's adequate for what it's doing. I mean, if it was like a you know, wing and the prop were being, you know, dragged through the grass on landing, I'd say maybe you're going to have definitely going to have an issue actually, or something like that. The prop's very small and flimsy, but it, you know, it works well, and it's obviously very nicely suited for this motor. But you know, 2mm shaft on the motor, and you know, it's glued on, so a little odd there. Wasn't too thrilled with that. I can get a prop adapter and, you know, put whatever prop I want on there. But as it is, stock, it's great. I wanted to try it at least stock. It worked out well. It does have a little spinner on there that comes stock. I kind of plucked that off right away because it wasn't true. When you spun the motor by hand, you could see the thing was definitely out of round, and there really wasn't any way to redo it. You'd have to glue it. I wasn't going to mess with that, so I just pulled it off. It was a little lightweight spinner, unnecessary. And on 2S, it has plenty to push this thing around. Yeah, for what it is. You could put 3S on it, I guess, if you wanted to. Maybe, I guess probably change the ESC. I'm not sure if you'd have to change the motor. The ESC is kind of, you know, it's very generic. There's no branding on it or anything like that. It seems to be adequate for what it's doing here. And it does heat up a little bit. There's my timer. It does heat up a little bit in the space. I put a little hole in the nose for some ventilation, but it doesn't seem to be doing much. But we'll bring it in. But I mean, you know, I don't know what you would have to change to make it good on 3S. Probably both the ESC and the motor. And it glides. Coming into the wind, that's why I went around behind me there. They have a Volantex Firstar. I don't know if they're going to Firstar or what, but they left out the E. Pretty cool plane. At that price point, it's actually, I think it's good at that price point for $50. I think it's terrific. $70, it's probably worth it. If you like the style and you like the plane, it's probably be good for FPV. I think you could slope saw with this thing. I mean, the prop isn't folding, but it's very small. There's not a lot of frontal area to it, and it obviously doesn't affect the glide all that much. It stops also because I guess it's in the slipstream, and there may or may not be a brake on the ESC. I have no idea how to set the ESC. Maybe there were directions. I didn't really look into that thoroughly, but I guess, you know, you could replace the ESC and do whatever you want. But it's a nice airframe for, you know, for just messing around. And I'm sure you could put FPV on this thing very easily and have a nice experience with it. But thank you for watching.